Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 137, featuring the top 5 coolest looking aliens. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse. I'm the host of the TrekRanks podcast, and tonight we are jumping into one of those classic, fun, straightforward TrekRanks topics. Tonight we are choosing our top 5 coolest looking aliens. It doesn't get any more straightforward than that. What aliens in Star Trek do you think are the coolest to look at, or the coolest looking? So there's tons of ways you can look at that from a personal perspective. And joining us for this fun topic, we have 2 awesome guests. First up, it's one of our favorites returning for her 7th TrekRanks appearance. Number 7, it's Brooke Horton. Brooke, welcome back.
Thank you kindly. Glad to be here.
Great to have you back. And our second guest tonight is a TrekRanks newcomer from the Some Kind of Star Trek SKOST blog, and someone we've been trying to get on for a while. He's hailing us from the UK sector. It's Clive Burrell. Clive, welcome.
Oh, it's I can tick this off my Trek bucket list now. I've done it. This is it. I don't have to do anything else now. I've been on the TrekRanks. That's it. Pleasure.
I love it, and I want to hear this because I don't know it. So let's get, for our first time guest, let's get our quick Trek origin story from you, Clive. What's your backstory on Trek? How long you been into it? When did you get into it? Have you seen it all? What's your deal?
Oh, yeah. Easiest answer is seen literally everything. I'm a kind of third generation Trekkie. My granddad kind of got my dad into it in the early 70s when they were shown on BBC in the UK.
Amazing.
My dad got me into it from a very, very young age. I remember my first kind of time watching Star Trek, sort of 3 or 4. Original series again, for those in the UK, BBC 2, Wednesday nights, 6 o'clock was the time to watch it. Star Trek was the first program that I watched on a colour TV.
Oh.
At the age of about 6, and it was the Apple. I remember the episode very vividly. I remember watching it clearly, and kind of watched the original series through. Got into Next Gen when it came to the UK in 1990. Got hooked Deep Space Nine through Voyager, Enterprise. Stuck with it. Faded a little bit in the early sort of 2000s, I guess, as a lot of people did when kind of Enterprise went off, and then I kind of dabbled a little bit through the sort of 2000s, I guess. Started the blog just because I wanted to write about Star Trek. It's something I've done writing for many, many years. Got into it, got writing about it, got absolutely sucked back in completely in the worst kind of sense, and it just kind of took over. It's the biggest thing that I kind of have apart from my family and work, and yeah. 10 years later, the blog's still going. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's kind of a Trek origin story, really. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had anybody say they were 3rd generation.
Not that I can remember.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's really cool. And the fact that listen, the Trek was designed to sell color TVs. That was one of the deals. So the fact that you can remember the Apple being your first one on the color TV, that's a pretty good one for first color TV exposure. I love the Apple.
Do we need to know what his favorite series is?
Oh, let's hear it. Well, of course.
Yeah, it's Deep Space Nine.
It's always Deep Space Nine.
It's just the best series ever.
Somehow this show attracts Deep Space Nine lovers. You hear that so many times.
You really do. There's this urban legend that Deep Space Nine is the redheaded stepchild. It's not. It was for about a year or 2 years when people were like, I don't know, Space Station verse. But then, by the mid 90s, it was like, no, this is the freaking greatest thing ever. And it has never looked back. It has been number 1 for literally 25 years.
You're right. Seasons 1 and 2 of Deep Space Nine, absolutely. It was really mixed. I kind of almost gave up on it. And then season 3 came in and stuck the VHS in when I got the search, because it came out on VHS in the UK before it came out on the TVs. And we're talking a good sort of 6 months to a year before it came onto the TV. And the Defiant fires its phasers for the first time. And I kind of went, wow.
I mean, that's a seminal
Blew my mind. And anyway, fast forward to 2016, 17, maybe even slightly earlier than that. We did a couple of podcasts as a bit of a trial with Scott. And we've got Adam Howard on. Because he was the guy who was responsible for all the phaser beams and stuff. Yeah. So all the kind of optical effects and stuff that they put into Deep Space Nine. And they said, can you come up with some effects for the Defiant? And he went, and in 15 minutes, he made up this kind of thing. Anyway, he's chatting. I went, whoa, hang on a minute. Whoa, hang on a minute.
That's amazing.
You designed this phaser effect that basically changed my entire perspective on Deep Space Nine in about 3 seconds.
Yeah. Moral of the story is that Deep Space Nine is actually the most popular Trek, despite the fact that there's the urban myth out there that it gets ignored. It does.
What's interesting though is your show is about positivity, and Deep Space Nine can be so bleak. Yet somehow this cross section is TrekRanks guests and Deep. I find it fascinating.
It's still Trek. It's still positive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our TrekRanks recalibration to get into this topic.
Let's start with something small, like a recalibration of the EPS manifolds.
As regular listeners will know by now, General Order number 1 of the TrekRanks charter is that we love Trek and we love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. But remember, it's not about the ranks. That's just our excuse to talk about Star Trek.
But what is that Vulcan motto? Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
And what is diversity? A celebration of differences.
And as T'Pol and Dr. Phlox just said, and they should really know because they're two pretty cool-looking aliens, TrekRanks is basically just a big old celebration of differences. There are no wrong answers at TrekRanks. We love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, now Discovery, Short Treks, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and Prodigy. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through 849 episodes of Star Trek, which currently translates through the first 6 episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. And one final reminder that we use episodes as a shorthand term, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Have boosted power to the communications bandwidth.
And we appreciate that, Mr. Kim. You can find TrekRanks on Subspace at TrekRanks.com. You can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. And you can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. We've been getting a lot of great voicemails lately, so send us your lists. Okay, Brooke and Clive, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Brooke.
You can find me on Twitter at The Replimat.
TrekRanks has been canceled. Brooke did not come up with episodes for her picks. Oh my God.
It's been a while.
Clive, how about you?
You can find me over on the Twitter as well, and an equally location-based Twitter handle at The Warp Core.
I love it. Okay, so we are going to skip our Level One Diagnostic and jump straight into our Prime Directives.
But what you're proposing is exactly the kind of tampering the Prime Directive prohibits.
Okay, Brooke, we're going to start with you. How did you define your Prime Directive and finalize your picks?
So obviously this is very broad, which is very fun. I thought about a couple different things, and I won't say all the things I thought in case that's what you guys, or the approach you guys took. But what I ultimately decided to do is pick species of aliens that we've seen in at least 2 totally different incarnations of Star Trek, so that we could kind of have the first glimpse that they're cool and then further confirmation that they're cool when we see them again in something else.
Okay, that is fantastic. Wait, so when you say incarnation, you mean different series?
Yep, different series. Okay. So between both animated and live action.
Fantastic. I love that Prime Directive. That is so cool. Okay, I'm trying to think how mine would apply to that, but we'll see. Clive, how about you?
I formed a 12-man committee. So over the course of 3 weeks, we met 7 or 8 times, in which we decided on a short list of 45.
Only 45?
Over a series. Well, yeah, we had to cut it down from 300. But over a series of votes, no, seriously, I looked at it and kind of went, wow, this is a great topic.
Yeah.
And I did ask a few people kind of what their thoughts were on cool aliens, like a few guys who I know from podcasts and sort of blogging and Twitter and that kind of thing. But ultimately, I looked at it and went, I wanted to have somebody who represented a series that we've seen maybe more often, and then some at least that we kind of seen as one-offs and maybe a couple of appearances. So I kind of tried to broaden it across different levels of appearances, but also different series. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, no, that's good too. So you're kind of, you didn't really limit yourself, but you tried to make it over more than represent.
Spread the love.
Yeah, spread the love. Well said. Thank you. That's perfect.
I wanted to kind of make sure it wasn't just kind of the old prosthetics character as well. So kind of there's hopefully quite a broad spectrum in there.
Oh, so I like that a lot. Okay, so this is great because my prime directive, I was kind of looking for a criteria, and I ended up just having absolutely none. So I could have anything could be in play. And then I picked my 5 that I wanted to talk about. So I have a mix of everything. Some are humanoid, some are prosthetics, some are facial, some are well-known, some are deep cuts, some are one-off aliens, some are major, and literally everything was in play for me. And I picked my 5, and we go from there. They are all cool. All 15 of these are going to be cool. We know that. Okay, first Decaton, introduce us to the new order of things.
It'll be alphas like us that determine the future of this quadrant. That will be the new order of things.
Might first Decaton be on the list? We'll see if the Jem'Hadar make anybody's list. Okay, here we go. A quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our 5 coolest looking aliens and the specific reasons we're highlighting it. And everyone will pick one episode to associate with that pick, except apparently Brooke, who forgot to do it. Well, we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
My prime directive doesn't allow for one pick, one episode that represents them.
Fair enough. And at the end, we'll get some secondary system selections for the picks that just missed our list. And as always, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedo. Okay, Brooke, we're going to start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 coolest looking aliens?
Okay, my number 5 pick, 5 words, 1 pick, but 3 parts. My hashtag is this one, not I. And I picked the Pandronians.
You right off the bat, you picked the Pandronians. Who I'm just going to say, I know we don't do this on TrekRanks. Full disclosure, I hate the Pandronians. They drive me crazy. But wait, we've only seen them in one.
No, my friend. 2 animated series.
Oh shit, that's right.
I know you, Jim, but I'm not shying away from the animated series.
Of course.
So,
all right.
Again,
tell us why you love BEM.
Again, my prime directive, a little tricky, but we see the Pandronians first in the animated series, and then we see them again in Lower Decks. And what really kind of bowls me over about them, honestly, and I think why I think they look so cool is that according to David Gerald, they were actually being conceived for use in TOS, which is crazy to think about, that they would have attempted something like a disassembled alien, species. And of course, we never saw it in live action, but I was glad they brought it back in Lower Decks, and in obviously a brilliant Lower Decks episode. So and I don't know, like this episode is so unique. Like, should we be describing what the Pandronians, should we describe a little bit about what our picks look like?
I mean, I think if people may not know the Pandronians because Lower Decks is so new and the animated series is so the animated series. But if you remember BEM, the episode BEM is kind of like the driver for this, which is not one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek.
Green, well, we know that green skin, red hair, and they can separate their heads from their torsos from their lower bodies. And
so literally they just fly around as 3 different body parts.
Right. And in theory, supposedly the reason they don't think of themselves as individuals is because they can, like, Mr. Potato Head pieces with other people, parts of their.
Is that part of their deal? I don't even.
Yeah.
Think I knew that. Okay.
So there isn't really a sense of I. You're gonna hate me for making this stuff. There's no sense of I because you could.
This one is really annoyed by this pick. Hey, Clive, how much do you hate Pandronians?
I have to kind of side with Brooke on this one. I think they're great, and I have a soft spot for the original, the animated series, and
I'll shut up. I'll shut up.
But I think they absolutely nailed it with Lower Decks, and having her as the kind of drill instructor, as you will, the kind of the test was just brilliant, and making them a kind of more, not a comical character, but kind of a bit of a more humorous role in that series. They absolutely fitted the Lower Decks kind of ethos, and it was just fantastic.
They do fit the Lower Decks ethos, that is for sure. I would say it's a farcical character. And that was, I mean, listen, I Excretus is hilarious and
the best.
A really good episode. So, but I do it, if I'm being fully honest, rewatchability is always my number one ranking criteria. And so she annoyed me so much that I know that it won't ever be super high on my rewatchable, because she did such a good job of being annoying that I don't want to watch her. So,
and yet you'll watch Kai win over and over.
Fair enough. That's hard to argue that one. You win. Okay, Clive, what's your cool looking? I will say this: they are kind of. I mean, the concept is cool, and
you don't have to justify it,
All right,
I don't need your validation.
I'm glad we have that out of the way. Okay, hit it.
Okay, so my 5 words are Dayton's original series Deep Cut, and my hashtag is blue dabba dee dabba da. It's Murph from.
Oh my
Prodigy.
God, it's Murph! Oh my God, this is so good.
I thought I'd start us off as we mean to go on. And I'm kind of picking Lost and Found, which is the first episode of Prodigy. What a great creation. If anybody follows kind of Dayton Ward, the author, the Trek author on Twitter, you'll know that he has mentioned that Murph is this deep cut from original series, and nobody apparently has yet guessed what this deep cut is. And I thought with you, Jim, you'd look at deep cuts.
That. I forgot about that. Although I think it's not Dayton Ward, it's Aaron Walke, right?
Is it?
I think it was.
Right. Okay.
I can see getting them conflated because
I think Dayton mentioned it on his Twitter at some point and kind of went and said about it. But the fact that it's a TOS deep cut is
and no
phenomenal.
Nobody's
really guessed it.
Yeah, and I forgot about that. Great element.
I think with Murph, the fact that it is kind of a more cartoony feel. Prodigy is superb. I think it's a fantastic series. But Murph as an alien creature that kind of reminds you a little bit of a changeling in there, that kind of blue blob with this kind of cartoony little bit of a face. There is that cuteness factor in, and you can see where they're aiming it. You can see where that's going. But I just think as a new creation, it's it shows off what they can do with Prodigy and what they can do with the graphics that they're using and the type of animation they've gone for with that series. And I just think he's just a wonderful creation, and the fact that he can hold the protostar drive and not be blown up is just wonderful. And you know what, when Playmates make a figure, I'm going to be buying one.
For sure. I will say, I know that was we just had a kid's pick, but that's the greatest pick in TrekRanks history. I love it. I love Murph. He's brilliant. They are brilliant. They've done such a good job of hitting that Pixar sweet spot, so that it's obviously Murph is there for kids.
Yeah,
he's perfect for adults too. And one of I will tell you, my favorite moment from Lost and Found is when Murph fires the phasers. When Murph's the one that figures out how to fire the phasers, is so good.
I named him Murph. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. He's such a chatterbox, aren't you, Murph? He's probably too smart for our translators.
Murph rules. I just can't wait to learn more about him. And I forgot about that little element from the producers, that he's got some kind of interesting backstory to TOS. Wow. Brilliant. Yeah. Brooke, what's your take?
Yeah, that's news to me too, which is really intriguing. Not that long ago, both Jim and I were in Chicago at the convention, and it was wonderful having every kid come up to that microphone, and they've got Kate Mulgrew there, and they've got a doll, I don't want to say in person. It was a very unique experience, but everyone just came back to, where's the Murph merchandise? Where's the Murph plushie? So you're not alone. Children are clamoring for it. Murph is wonderful.
Yeah, and
I'm 42 and I want it.
and every time it was, who's your favorite character? Murph.
Yep,
who's
every
your favorite
time.
character? Murph. So fantastic. I love it.
Brilliant.
Okay. 2 animated picks. I love that. I truly do. That's fantastic for the first round. Mine is more traditional, a little bit of a deep cut, but I just couldn't eliminate them from my list. I really love these aliens. 5 words in a hashtag. That Euridian is selling lies. Hashtag, but he looks great doing it. And it is the Euridians from just about everywhere. They were on TNG, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise. I think there was one in Voyager. And I just always thought these guys were cool. So the Euridians are the information peddlers that just show up when they kind of need someone who's a little nefarious and dealing in information. And James Cromwell played the first one in Birthright Part 1, which is my pick as an episode. He approached Worf about his father. I love that they were in Gambit talking about Picard's death. There was one trying to sell info there or play some info there. And in Enterprise, Twilight, there was Euridian who showed up. He was trailing flocks for the Xindi in Twilight. So I just love that they show up all over the place. I think they have a cool look, very distinctive. And here's one of the reasons I love them. It's a full head prosthetic makeup, but all the characters look really distinctly different, which is not something they always do in Trek. Like, it's easy to make the Klingons or Andorians or somebody look different because it's a human face underneath. But when you're in a full prosthetic, a lot of times the sculpts look the same, and all these Euridians look really different and very distinctive. And I thought that was always great. I tried to do a little research to figure out what Michael Westmore, the makeup design king of Star Trek, he's used a lot of animals to influence his designs over the years. So I tried to look it up and see if there was anything about Euridians, and I could not find anything of like what the inspiration was. I'm assuming it was like a groundhog or a marmot or a ferret or something, because they got that kind of nose. But anyways, Jaglem Shrek, James Cromwell, Birthright, love the Euridians. Clive, what's your take on Euridians?
Oh, a great pick. As a man with a sister with a temper, I believe is the quote from Gambit, which is one of my favorite TNG episodes.
I have a sister too.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. But you're right that the makeup is great. I mean, you don't know it's James Cromwell. It's one of those. I remember when I kind of found out that it was James Cromwell, and then the guy who played and he did that. But it was that one. It's brilliant. And also, if you think about it, that the heights of Euridians change quite a bit as well. You've got James Cromwell, who's quite a tall actor, and then the guy who plays the Euridian in Gambit is actually quite a tiny guy. There's a whole load of different sizes, but yeah, it's a good solid pick. That very, very good.
Some have like frizzy hair and some don't. They're always kind of different. Brooke, what's your take on Euridians?
I think it's a really cool pick. I admit I didn't think of them, but I think what I like most about the Euridians is that it doesn't just look like a Star Trek makeup. It could be Tolkien. It could be Star Wars. Like, it's just a great fantasy makeup, a great fantasy creature.
I think that's really good. I forgot to mention too that they all have they on their hands they have 4 fingers, so they have 4 digits. So two of their fingers kind of go together. It's like a longer kind of pointed finger, so it's almost sloth-like. So it's just a cool looking makeup.
Well, and like that digit. I mean, that brings up all kinds of questions. Like, how do they eat, or is there some sort of survival mechanism that they require that for? I mean, it's just one little thing can kick off your imagination and just send you in a lot of directions as far as their history.
I love it. Okay, I'm sure they probably use it for their filing cabinets of all the information they peddle.
Right.
So
probably.
Okay, round 4. Brooke, what's your number 4 coolest looking alien?
Okay, so I have to say thank you to a recent friend, David, over in Edinburgh, who I was chatting with, and he brought these guys up, and it kind of kickstarted my brainstorming. But my 5 words are last served on a plate, and my hashtags are shakes fist, hashtag not people, and I picked the Andorians.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I didn't think of them.
We obviously see the Andorians first in TNG's Manhunt, and then I guess I did pick a couple episodes. I did have a couple in mind, and then they're again in Lower Decks in an embarrassment of Dupplers, when Mariner and Boimler are in the police, the security chase in the car. And Boimler yells fish like, people. Look out for the fish people. And I say, not people. But I honestly, this is sort of my pick because of the makeup specifically, because when you look at the face of one of these characters, the fact that someone exists within that full head prosthesis and can see out, but like, you know, the eyes are on the side, right? These fish eyes are on the side. It's a remarkable makeup job. Whoever was inside, and then you get like these ultimate 80s mom shoulder pad, you know, and there's texture and color and shine. And I think they're very, very cool. So.
It's a super cool makeup. It's cool that we've seen them again now because of Lower Decks. Oh, that's your Prime Directive too. How brilliant. Yeah. I love that. Because it's one of it would be nice to see them show up again in live action because they did such a good job with them in TNG. I can only imagine.
It'd be incredible
what they could do. And I like that there's a little stunt casting there with Mick Fleetwood as one of the Andorians, which is.
Did you say Mick Fleetwood?
Yes. Yeah, you didn't know this?
No.
Mick Fleetwood is one of those two Andorians.
Oh my God, that's
Fleetwood
amazing.
Mac, which is like the craziest thing. Like, hey, he wants to be on Star Trek. Okay, well, you're going to be this weird fish eating.
He's even cooler. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. Clive, what's your take on the Andorians?
It's even cooler, as you say, to get any mention of Fleetwood Mac into a Trek podcast is you know,
I love it.
Is just above board. But it's the fact that Mick Fleetwood, because he wanted to be in Star Trek so much, willingly shaved off his beard as well to play one of the Andorians because he had to do it. They are probably one of the most unusual looking aliens I think we've ever had. There's nothing quite like them. Their introduction is very odd. The fact that they're in stasis when they turn up on the Enterprise transport pad, that they're already, you know, they're in stasis already and they're all going to wake up. And there's something very, I would say very fishy about them, but that would be kind of a bit, you know, that would be the worst joke we've ever done.
That's a pretty good one.
They're kind of, there is something very odd and unusual about how they look and how they move, which doesn't kind of marry up with the makeup in a way. But yeah, they're just a very unusual creature.
They're fish out of water. So
I believe that's enough. Yeah, okay, we'll take that one off the big card.
Yeah,
and I mean, if you think about it, we get a ton of, you know, it's a human with a thing stuck on their forehead or on their nose or whatever. And this one, I think, kind of it's got its foot in both sides because it's obviously a humanoid, but not really humanoid. You know, I mean, it's an upright it's an upright person, but it doesn't feel like one. And I like that. Because it seems like it would have been a big challenge.
I was trying to remember why this came up recently because Charlene Schmidt picked Andorians and Mick Fleetwood as one of her one-off guest stars. And that's where I learned that I thought they were just making like a noise when they were eating, but apparently they say food, 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 food. So I'm dropping that in right now. More food, food, food.
Fourth, the vermiculum.
Okay, let's go to Clive's number 4 pick. What do you got?
My number 4 pick. Okay. So my number 4 pick. So my 5 words are safe place for MacGuffin storage. And my hashtag is headcase. And it's Ensign Sill from Star Trek Beyond.
Oh no! I love this pick. That is a cool looking alien. I'll let you describe it in a minute, but this it breaks my heart because I hate that they killed her. I hate it that she died. Clive, describe Ensign Sill from Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, the easiest way to describe it is that it's as I found out when I was doing a bit of research into this, effectively, if you imagine the face hugger from Alien on the back of your head, is the easy, and that's what it was designed on. That's the homage, is to the face hugger, designed by Joel Harlow for Star Trek Beyond. I've got to say, so I'm out of the 3 films, I find Star Trek Beyond probably the weakest of the 3. I'll probably get lynched for saying that, but I actually prefer the other 2. But the makeup in Star Trek Beyond. And I've got the book that Joe Navarro did,
so good.
Which is just and the makeup and that is just out of this world. Natalia, for example, is an amazing piece of makeup, and I really struggled to kind of pick which one I was going to go for. And Kalana as well is magnificent. But Syl has this wonderful kind of head apparatus that kind of opens up, and she has the artifact of that part of the Abernath, which Kirk gives her, which she hides away inside her head, which is just
it becomes really a plot point. It's very cool. Absolutely. That it's a plot point.
Yeah, totally. But the makeup is just the wonderful. The skin effect. It's a full. I mean, you talk about a full head prosthetic. It's this huge kind of structure that she has at the back of the head, and then kind of the makeup at the front as well, and the lines and the kind of the scaling effect that they put on there as well. It's a beautiful piece of work, and I think the guy that Joel Harlow's work on that film is just unbelievable, absolutely amazing.
All right, I love this pick. I love those other ones you mentioned too, Natalia. But I like you picked this one because she was such a big part of the actual story. Yeah. Second, that book is amazing. It's Joel Harlow, right?
Joel Harlow, yeah.
Yes, I mean that Joel Harlow makeup book is phenomenal. This is also reminding me, making me sad that he didn't win the Oscar, which is such a joke that he lost out to Suicide Squad. And then last thing, TrekRanks is canceled because Clive said Beyond is his least favorite of the Kelvin time.
I'm out.
Yeah. Brooke, what's your take on Ensign Syl? It's fantastic.
There's not much else I can add to it. I mean, Clive described it perfectly. It's a beautiful character, and it is a sad character, which makes her all the more memorable.
Yeah, she should not have died. Okay, let's close out round 2 with my pick. 5 words and a hashtag. Makeup performer backstory equals cool. Hashtag stiletto hooves. It is the Kelpians from Star Trek Discovery.
Nice hashtag.
I love the Kelpians. They are cool. So, I mean, the makeup and the intricate design from Neville Page and Glenn Hendrick on the face of Saru and the Kelpians is unbelievable. And then they expanded. I mean, the hands are amazing. The chest design is super cool. All the threat ganglia stuff was really good. And even with the evolution of it to the spikes, I love the design. Everything about it's cool. But I got to say the main reason, or maybe the most specific reason I'm picking it, is because of what Doug Jones does with it. The guy is just such an amazing creature performer. Been a fan of his for years, from Hush, Buffy the Vampire Slayer days, and I loved the show Falling Skies about 10 years ago when he played Kachis. So I just always loved this guy. So when he was hired on to do Star Trek, I was blown away. Like, oh man, this is going to be amazing. And Saru is just next level. And of course, the key to how cool they are is the hooves and the mannerisms of when he's walking and swaying and clicking when he's talking. I mean, the whole thing. I just love the Kelpians. And to be fair, not just Doug Jones, because an actor like Bill Irwin, when he appeared in Sukal as Sukal, which is the episode I'm picking, by the way, I loved him in that. And he really got that whole mannerism down from, the way he's also a creature performer. I love the Kelpians, and they were for sure going to be on my list. Brooke, what's your take on the Kelpians?
I'm right there with you. I think Saru is actually the thing that I love most of Discovery, like way at the top of the list. But I'm also a huge Doug Jones fan from all of his work with Guillermo del Toro, and then
of course. I didn't even mention Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy, and on the more light side, he plays the Baron in What We Do in the Shadows, and he plays like the foundational vampire, and it's so wonderful. And I agree with you. I think without Doug Jones, you don't get Kelpians the way that we got Kelpians. I mean, he's it matters who's under that mask, and he was obviously the first, and the others that came along is, Sarana and but Doug Jones was the original. He needed to be Doug Jones in order for the Kelpians to become what they are. So it's a great pick.
I feel like if it's anybody but Doug Jones, they would have scrapped the hooves idea. They would have just said, because only Doug Jones would be like, sure, I'll do that. I will act in that for hours at a time. Just feels like any other actor they would have had to say, no, we can't pull that off. It was a bridge too far. Clive, what's your take on Kelpians?
Doug Jones has defined an entire race within a matter of episodes. That the art, the swaying arms, the movement, the whole kind of, I use this word already, like the whole kind of ethos and just design of that of the Kelpians absolutely comes from his performance and from everything that he put into it. Although it's interesting because you look at Sukal and you look at Serana, and they're very different in their mannerisms and their movements. Sukal particularly, I guess, because of the situation he was in and left on the ship and spoilers.
Yeah.
But Doug Jones, you're right. He is the reason that a lot of people were drawn to Discovery, that a lot of people watch it. His performance in Shape of Water, again, is an amazing piece of work. And he just has this, I guess, with the Kelpians, and it's weird, isn't it? Because you talk about Doug Jones when you talk about the coolest, being the cool aliens. It's him. It's all about the guy within that's working through the makeup and through the prosthetics to create this unforgettable Star Trek character.
Absolutely. He's a legend, and he's elevated it to a level that's really, really rare. Okay. Soup round. Brooke, what's your number 3 pick?
Eat your soup, courtesy of a loyal establishment. Jolan True.
Oh, Jim. Okay. My 5 words are what manner. Oh, that's not even 5 words. That's my hashtag. Hang on. My 5 words is that you, Carter Winston, hashtag what manner of beastie. And I'm picking the Vendorians.
Okay, I like the Vendorians.
Okay.
To be clear. So this is good.
I was bracing for this.
Wait, that's the Survivors, right?
The episode? I don't remember.
The Survivor. Yeah.
We obviously see them first in the animated series, and it's another pick that we then see again in Lower Decks. Yeah. Again, probably because it would be
I'm a little boy.
It would be very hard to pull this off in live action Star Trek, right? So this is it's even hard to describe. I'm staring at a picture of them right now. And I mean, it's orange, red tentacles. But what I like about this pick is they're cool looking in their, what do I want to say? Their native form, but they're changelings. Or they're the first shapeshifters right? Or were there some
the Vandorians? Yeah, no, they.
Yeah.
Garth. But
Garth is
he learned a trick or something.
Right. So when you think about shapeshifters being such a pivotal part of Deep Space Nine, like this was our first shapeshifter. So they were not only, but Odo wasn't that cool when he was gelatinous. These guys had a cool original form, that could then mimic whatever they needed. So in a way, it's kind of a cheat pick because they look cool no matter what they look like.
That's fair. That's a good point. When you picked the Pandronians, I was like, you should have picked the Vendorians. Those guys are cool. Okay, I love it. Clive, what's your take on the Vendorians, shapeshifters?
It feels like Brooke has certainly doubled down on this one. Following on from this has been, it's one of those where you go, I don't know whether I can actually do the next 3 picks because I don't think they're going to ever get to this kind of level. The Vendorians it's brilliant. They are a great alien race, as you can say. But you can imagine if we did this they could do this in live Trek now as a CG. They really could do it. It's a real possibility. I think they could really make this work now. There's no way they could have done it in the 60s.
No, it would look amazing right now if they wanted to bring it
would look phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, if they did this into the kind of the cinematic universe, if they did it in the J.J. Abrams
Strange New Worlds, right? I mean, the time we know they're around.
They could do it.
I mean, just again, the shape-shifting piece of it is fantastic. That again, that slight comedy element that we got from Lower Decks from Envoys was brilliant, and you kind of. The great thing with the Vendorians when you brought them into Lower Decks as well is that it was one of those kind of hat tip moments, and you realise how much Lower Decks is kind of appreciating that the animated series.
Yes,
and I love that because the animated series doesn't get enough appreciation, in my opinion.
Jim,
I know
Moorhouse.
I'm doing this on purpose. This
gets the exact right amount. I think it gets the exact right amount.
And Clive and his one and only ever transparency. For various reasons. That's great. It's a great pick.
Okay, let's hear. I am dying to hear your pick, Clive, because I know what my pick is. And depending on what series you're associated to here, we could be in some rarefied TrekRanks air. So let's hear it, Clive. What's your soup round pick?
Okay. This is the one where I was kind of really debating where I'm going to go. And I'm actually going to go for my original choice for this one. My 5 words are life beyond the galactic barrier. And my hashtag is all of the lights.
Oh, fantastic.
It's the 10C.
Yeah, they are really that good. They deserve this.
And I really debated putting these guys in. I'm not a huge fan of Discovery as I am of kind of some of the other series and Deep Space Nine in particular. But the way in which they created this race and they created a set of aliens in a time, and you've got to think of the time they were making the series as well, during the COVID pandemic, and how, if you watch the series back, you'll realize kind of how bottled most of series 4 actually is if you watch it back.
Yeah, no, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and to have an alien creation, which was one outside of the kind of the boundaries we're so used to with Star Trek, within the galaxy, and also to do something that really showed off the abilities of the CG department, and just the vision and the scope and the it's almost operatic in its vision of this creation that you. And what I love about the 10C is the fact that, Jim, you could probably look at them and see something in one way, and Brooke, you'll look at them and kind of see them in a different way, and I'll see them in a slightly different light because of how we perceive things. And the way in which they're portrayed gives that ability for us to all to kind of appreciate them in a different way. And also that the communication was just, as a piece of science, and I'm not a big scientist, but as a piece of science in Star Trek, I absolutely love the communication piece with the pheromones and the lights and the combinations. Just genius, absolute perfection as an alien race. What can you say to I mean, yeah, just brilliant.
Well, I really love the way you frame that they do, the way they did the CGI, we all will look at it a little bit differently, because like where do they start and end, and it is so nebulous that's a really, I wonder if they did that by design. I bet there was definitely a level in the thinking, because that's a great way to frame it. They are an amazing species. They are a cool looking alien. The language and that whole communication bit, I love Arrival, the movie Arrival, and it was just great to see Trek do a worthy homage to it in a way that's like, this is at that level. It was really, really, really cool. Brooke, Species 10C.
Yeah, I mean, Clive literally said, "What more can you say?" And
I mean,
not much. They're wonderful.
That is cool. They just, I mean, hey, it's the topic. They just looked cool. I mean, they really, really did. No denying that.
Perception was just fantastic, as you say.
And after such a build up, we had no idea what we were going to see.
Agreed. They paid that off.
Yep,
sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was thinking we might have 8 different series represented, but we have a couple Discovery now. So it'll end up being 7 in our first 9 picks, because mine is from TOS. My 5 words and a hashtag, the Chamber of Ages, hashtag Vault of Tomorrow. Or I could do Call It Pizza Around Me, hashtag I Dare Ya, because the Devil in the Dark and the Horta is one of my cool looking aliens. I say this all the time. The Horta costume is not campy or hokey or cheesy. It is, I just don't understand anyone that thinks, it's just a guy with under a rug scurrying around. No, it's one of the most original costumes with sound effects and just creature acting and the movements. It's absolutely incredible. When I was a kid, I 100% believed Horta were real. The fact they did this in 1967 on a first season TV budget, they just created one of the most alien aliens in Star Trek history right off the bat. Janos Prohaska, the creature designer and performer. I love it. Devil in the Dark's my all-time favorite Star Trek episode. Has everything. And every time I mention Devil in the Dark, I have to get a shout out to Schmitter. So rest in power, Schmitter. But I love the Horta, cool looking alien. I've been thinking that for 50 years. Clive, what's your take on the Horta?
Yeah, it's certainly one of the ones that I put into my list with my committee at the beginning. The way there's no other way you could do it, is there? It's one of those that you go, that's just, and for the time period, as you say, you know what, and I think it was Gene Roddenberry saw it, didn't he? Went, we have to just get that in an episode because it's such a cool idea of the guy on the skateboard. under it, which you don't appreciate. And you know that, the Horton become a character in beta canon in the novels. There's a crewman, I think, on the Titan who's a Horter. We've seen them in other series as well. I think there was one was the one in Discovery as a crew member, which is on scuttle around the corridor. I'm trying to remember.
It wasn't a Horta. It was something else. It was not a Horta.
Something else, wasn't it? But again, it was
a lot of people put that in like tweets and stuff. That was not a Horta. That was like a little blob thing.
Yeah. But it's the way, and it is cool as well because the guy was able to pervade the emotion of the Horta, that scared feeling and the aggression as well, just through that movement.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see that. And it was one of those props. They had a prop of it at the at Destination Star Trek going back a few years, and the amount of people who had to go mind meld with it just to get a photo. Right. Not that I did, of course. Was just scary. But yeah, it's brilliant.
I'll post my photo if you post yours, Clive.
I agree.
Okay, Brooke, what's your take on the Horta?
Yeah, I can definitely echo what everyone said, but I will say for me, when I saw this episode as a kid, because I consider Star Trek to have raised me in tandem with my parents, who are wonderful, but Star Trek was a big part of it, and not to at all besmirch the humanoid aliens. But if you truly want to grow up to be somebody that respects all forms of life, the Horta is perfect. I mean, there's no universal translator that was helping with this communication. It was something so unfamiliar, so different and unrelatable. Yet the whole episode taught us that, we need to learn how to understand each other. So, I mean, I'm getting away from the cool look and more getting into just the whole, the whole character that was written. But I think it's wonderful. And I think it's my favorite TOS episode.
Love it. Okay, let's go to round 2. Brooke, what's your number 2 pick?
All right, so number 2, they were considered a myth. # literally cool looking, and I picked the Anar. I was gonna cheat.
Fantastic.
I was thinking of cheating and picking the Andorians and then the subspecies of the Anar, but with Hemmer showing up in Strange New Worlds, it felt like the Anar were the ones to highlight.
Having a moment. They are having a moment.
So I mean, you were a little worried about not covering all the series, but I mean, I'm
checking the box right now. The first Strange New Worlds pick.
Animated series, Enterprise, and Strange New Worlds. So it ticks all the boxes. They're brilliant looking, obviously, and to be honest, I have a very sweet spot in my heart for Andorians and Anar because of the way people like to cosplay them. It's probably my favorite thing to watch people rally together in these groups of Andorians and gush over, antennae and it's just so for this one, it's so singularly Star Trek, so unique. And the fact that we've seen them in 3 series is pretty significant, otherwise, I mean, I'm sure there are others, but Klingons, obviously, but it's pretty cool.
I love it. Wait, so are you counting the Andorian? Are you saying that you think that was an Anar from
in the animated series?
In the animated series,
yeah.
I thought it was an Andorian.
No, well, I mean, even if it was because they didn't invest in good crayons, it's still the color of an Anar.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, now this is clear because that's yesteryear. Yeah, of course, it's yesteryear because they go to they go to the Guardian of Forever. It's supposed to be an Andorian, but it looks like an Anar, so clearly it's an Anar.
We're counting it.
I like it. Okay. Clive, what's your take on the Anar?
Why not retrofit canon at the same time? That's the great thing.
Exactly.
I think the Anar is when they came in, the concept in Enterprise of this kind of subsection of the Andorian people was a brilliant move. The fact that they are blind, that they live out in the kind of wilds, and the look of them is that slight shift in the Andorian makeup, so you can still see distinctly that they are part of the same kind of race, but there's that little tweak in there, and they literally are the coolest aliens in Star Trek.
Right?
I mean, very literally, even cooler than the Andorians because of where they live.
I was wondering if that cool alien would joke would pop get up. It in there. I love it.
That's my hashtag, man.
Oh, of course it was.
Literally the coolest looking.
I got it.
And you know what? Shout out to Bruce Horak as well in Enterprise. In Strange New Worlds, who I think has nailed the character.
Incredible.
And Hemmer is just the most deadpan.
Yeah.
Unlikely sarcasm. He reminds me very much of the Doctor from Voyager, but even more cutting. Just love him. Not seen enough of him.
I know. Hopefully, we'll see a lot more of him. He is perfect, and it's not even like deadpan or sarcastic or mean. It's just I don't know. It's something about his stark directness. It just works.
He's cold.
He is. It's so different from like a Vulcan's, right? Disconnectedness. That's like amazing. Totally differently.
But it's also there's just a little bit of playfulness too, like that scene with her. So I love. And there's
for sure more emotion. There's emotion boiling underneath the surface there.
And arrogance.
Hemmer, I love this pig. Fantastic. I will say, I once was in. I don't think I've ever told this story. In an elevator at STLV. And this woman comes in full Anar outfit. Most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I couldn't say a word to her. I was just like, I wanted to just be like, marry me? I mean, it was unbelievable. It's like she basically looked like Jamel from the Enterprise trilogy. Incredible costume. I never really saw any pictures of her or anything. It was amazing.
I hope she's listening.
Oh, call me. It's a joke. I'm editing that out.
He's kidding, Drew. He's kidding.
Clive, what's your?
Well, it's Jim. It's not as if she's going to be able to get your number. It's at the beginning of the podcast.
I told you I'm editing all that out. Okay, Clive, what's your number 2 pick?
Number 2 pick, and I'm going for. I think I said, I was going to try and give a range of creatures and a range of appearances. So we go for kind of 1s and 2s, and here's the big one. And you might have already suggested it at the beginning.
Ooh.
5 words. White addicted, obedient super soldiers.
Yes.
Hashtag is space rhinos.
Space rhinos. Yes. I'm so glad you picked the Jem'Hadar.
It had to be the Jem'Hadar. My episode, and just, Deep Space Nine, the greatest Trek series ever written. The Jem'Hadar, the design of them, the look of them, they are. You just look at them and are just terrified. They are unstoppable. They are built like the proverbial. They have this tough skin, the teeth, the kind of the horned tooth kind of effect around the face. The fact as well that they kind of are saying it's super cool looking. They upgraded them to be alpha Jem'Hadar as well. They made those kind of tweaks, but they're just such a force to be reckoned with. And you see them in the groups, they're just unstoppable. That military kind of garb that they all have, the rifles, just that I've got to say look like maybe like sink plungers, if you kind of know the kind of more industrial looking ones. And I love that. I love the look of them. I love the whole feel of them, the background to them, the whole piece that they build around these kind of addicted warriors who are just bred just purely to fight. And it's they are the only time we think we see in Star Trek that there is an alien race which there is nothing almost redeemable about them. They are so driven by that one mission that there is nothing else to them. There's no kind of we can save him, we can kind of help him out. But with the Jem'Hadar, there's no option. There's nothing else there. And for my episode, I picked the excellent Rocks and Shoals from season 6.
Well, I was going to say, and in Rocks and Shoals, what you just said about how they're irredeemable, for good and bad, because like Sisko wanted to help them, but he couldn't, because they were like, sorry, I know that we're walking into a trap, but that's the order from the Vorta, so we have to do it. It's like, oh man. Oh, brilliant.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Brilliant pick. I'm so glad you picked it, because they were one of my toughest cuts, and I love the Jem'Hadar, and I'm really excited that they really are as good as it gets for an alien design and everything that they did in Trek. Brooke, what's your take on Jem'Hadar?
Yeah, they're definitely on my secondary systems. The one episode that I would kind of carve out from that general statement about them being just so one track is, I think, Hippocratic Oath, right? Where they're in that episode where they're separated from the founders, they're separated from the Vorta. we see a different side of them, right? We see that there is honor there. And later on, and I'm not going to remember the name of this episode, but when, Worf is being held in the penal colony and the daily fights, the fisticuffs and like they're toe to toe as honorable as a Klingon or as tough as a Klingon, so there's some depth that they gave them that I really do appreciate, so that they're scary, but they're not malevolent.
Yeah, there was levels of the honor and kind of that showing that, but it was also in a single-minded way that for good or bad, they were going to do it. That was in Purgatory Shadow, of course.
It's a great pick.
Fantastic. Clive, were you going to say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of showed that extra bit to them. And I think one of the ones that kind of just shows them in that very brutal light is To the Death.
Of course.
Where it's, you know what, and the great thing is that kind of does twitch a bit from what we said about Rocks and Shoals, in the fact that in Rocks and Shoals, they kind of go, well, the Vorta's telling us to do this and we're going to go and do it. However, in To the Death, they go, actually, they shoot Wayoon 4 at the end. And he kind of turns around and goes, you know what, we're so focused on the mission that even what he says doesn't matter. And there's that, again, that kind of driven nature. But
so intense.
As a makeup piece from Michael Westmore,
so good.
It's just sublime. And you think of the actors they got to do those parts as well. They got,
yeah, no joke.
Yeah. Some of the Jem'Hadar are brilliant. I can't remember the guy's name. He played the alien bounty hunter in the X-Files. Clarence Williams III, who from it's just ridiculous the people they got to be able to do Jem'Hadar.
As a wise man once said, it is the order of things. Okay, I love it. Great pick. All right, so now my pick. I'm loving this round because, Brooke, I'm going to bookend you here with my pick. 5 words and a hashtag. A remote-controlled Andorian tale, hashtag Blue Man Puppetry. And my pick are the Andorians, but only the Enterprise era Andorians, because for me, it is all about, and the Anar fit this, about Enterprise and what they did in reintroducing this legendary Trek species after 35 years in a way that has not been surpassed. And it's kind of easy to dismiss the Andorians from TOS because literally they were this stereotypical alien with antennas on their head, the big white wigs, and the very Smurf-like. And there's a reason we didn't see them in TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, save for that one weird quick look in the offspring of a weird Andorian. So when they brought them back in Enterprise and they added that remote control puppetry of the antenna, those things work so well. It blows my mind how effective those antennae are, and I don't think it gets nearly enough credit for when they're angry and they point forward, or when they're inquisitive and they're kind of moving around, or they're sheepish and they're kind of falling back. I absolutely love that design, and I'm going to add that I'm really disappointed in the Andorian design in Discovery. I just feel like it was such a missed opportunity to not continue I just don't understand how you could not see what was in Enterprise and be like, yeah, we need to keep doing that, because those antenna moving just make them so much more alien, so much more cool looking. I freaking love Enterprise era Andorians and Anar. I'm glad you picked them, Brooke, in this round. My episode was United, of course, because Archer chops off Shran's antenna in that episode, and it's just a fantastic moment. So, Clive, what's your take on Andorians now?
Amazing. I think the Andorians would not have come back as strongly as they did in Enterprise if not for a certain actor.
Yeah, well, that helps too. That helps too. Sure
and the way that he and you talk about cool looking, and we look about that, and you look at the performances we've talked about in here. We talked about Doug Jones, and now you talk about Jeffrey Combs and the way in which he rebuilt the Andorian race effectively as Shran. And I love the fact that the antenna are there for balance as well. Right. So that when he gets one cut off, he's kind of a little bit wobbly.
He does that John Wayne thing, getting out of bed. He's like, it's going to take 9 months to grow back.
It's just brilliant and it's great that you've mentioned there in the Discovery piece, because I have a bit of an issue with Discovery when it comes to the Andorians and the Orions. I didn't think that Discovery got them right in the visual look. I think the Andorians were too blue. bizarrely. And I think that Enterprise got it spot on. And I like the fact that in Strange New Worlds, I know Henry, we've talked about him already, but they've kept that look, that link. They were great, and I loved them all. They were just great. Brooke,
any last thoughts on Andorians?
Yeah, you know what? So I've only seen Enterprise all the way through once, but the gesticulating antennae are obviously so significant, and I feel like, you know, we've established that Clive has cats and dogs, and Jim, you have a dog and cats, and I have cats, and we're pet people. And how much do ears matter in communicating with, you know, these animals that we love, and understanding their emotions, and understanding, you know, when they are scared, or when they're like, you know, the pivoting ear, trying to listen for a second, which is why, I mean, I know they're not ears, but like, I'm picturing your Andorian bartender, like, you know, some shenanigans are happening over like their right shoulder, and the little one antenna like pivots that way, you know, like, yeah. Exactly. So, and I agree with everything you guys have said. In Enterprise, it was such a significant part of their character, and I wish that had stuck around too.
I think that's a great analogy to the pets. Okay, round one.
Begin round one.
Here we go, Brooke. What's your number one pick?
All right, so it wouldn't be my time on TrekRanks if I didn't really push the boundaries for something, or pull something out of the air that was unexpected. So
you've already picked the animated series. What do you have up your sleeve now?
Doing so, knowing you, and I did it with boldness. No, my 5 words for my number one pick: Brunt, Weyoun, Penk, Shran, Agamus. My hashtag is Mr. Everywhere, and I just picked Jeffrey Flipping Combs because honestly, you needed me to check all the boxes from all the shows. I didn't know it, but I, you know, subconsciously, I obviously knew you needed this. I mean, the pantheon of characters he's played checks so many great boxes, and some of these species don't even get named. They're just, you know, Penk's people, you know, or whatever. But they're still so significant. And Jeffrey Combs is such a lovely person, and he's a capital C cool person, you know, if you've ever been near him at a convention. So I just picked the entire pantheon, you know, from God, you know, what, 30 years of Star Trek of Jeffrey Combs.
Okay, this is another fantastic pick that is going to be one of my favorites, which I'll reveal in the stats later. But yeah, this is actually a pretty fair, legitimate cheat, because the topic is coolest looking aliens, and your answer is Jeffrey Combs. That works.
It does. It does.
That is a fair way to answer that question with the number one pick. So I love it. Clive, you already did a Jeffrey Combs name drop because you're so right. You made the Andorian special.
The guy is just an absolute legend. What can you say to even come close on this one? I mean,
I'm sorry, Major. The Dominion takes a dim view of terrorism. Your friend must pay the price for his crime.
We'll see what the Bajoran government has to say about that.
I'm afraid their pleas will fall on deaf ears. Major, would this be more aesthetically pleasing if it were blue?
It's Jeffrey Combs.
I know. He's that good.
It's one of those where you go, it's Jeffrey Combs. What can I add to this?
He's just so cool. He's just so cool.
It's a real special thing for the Star Trek franchise to have a guy like that do so much and be a good person and an incredible performer and creator. And it's special. There's no other way to frame it.
Weyoun is probably one of my favorite characters in Deep Space Nine.
Same.
And I'm just sending you a little. I know this is probably off topic, but I've just sent to Jim. If you just look in your inbox on Twitter, you'll love this.
Do I not get it?
No, I'll send this.
Oh, it's a photo of you two guys together. That's fantastic. I love it.
Here we go. I'll send it to Brooke as well. This is for everybody who's listening, this will make, this is one of those. I don't think it's ever happened before that you've sent a photograph during a.
Am I going to edit this out? I don't think so.
No,
I love it.
No, and I'm excited, cool. Clive. I want you, when this episode drops on Twitter, you need to retweet the link with this photo.
It's funny you said this, Clive, because I was just thinking before you sent this, I was like, in my album art, I should just put a picture of Jeffrey Combs in the middle from when he appears as himself in either Far Beyond the Stars, or I think he might have been in the back. Oh, yeah. I think he might have been in the Deep Space Nine finale too.
Well, yeah, Kevin Mulcahy or something, right? Or
I'm just going to put that in the album art, just a human Jeffrey Combs as coolest looking alien. That's totally fair. I love this movie.
And
that's awesome.
He just kind of makes Trek, and he's in Lower Decks as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Agamus,
as you had in your computer.
You had in the text. You had that in, and by the way, Agamus is an amazing character. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, of course he's an amazing character. I want to see more of Agamus. We better see more of Agamus. Okay, Clive, what's your number one pick?
My number one pick. So I almost went back in sort of time order with, if you've noticed, with these, apart from one, because I kind of did a late substitute. My 5 words: a tangled web they weave, and my hashtag is renowned punctuality. It is the Tholians from the original series, and it's you kind of go, whoa!
Crap. I love it. Love this.
And the reason for this, you guys have said that Devil in the Dark is your favorite TOS episode.
Yeah.
This is my favorite TOS episode.
It's a great episode.
And I adore this episode. I've watched it ridiculous amount of times, but I think for a 1960s sci-fi series, to get the Tholians and to give, and even it was a very brief scene with Commander Loskeen on the screen in the Tholian Web, which is the episode obviously we're talking about because it's just so good.
So good.
Is how over the years that just that look on the view screen that we saw developed them into another way. I was actually going to have a second hashtag, actually, Jim, in comparison to link to the title of the episode, which was Not So Cool. Because of course they live in over 200 degrees. They live in.
That's good.
But that was purely from the look that they created and the visual ripple that they had that kind of gave them the impression that they were living in this really hot kind of temperature, and this angular kind of diamond look. And actually, the directions that they put in there of what they were going to look like was that they're kind of this kind of diamond kind of sparkly effect. And they kind of pressed that across. It's interesting if you look into Shane Johnson's Worlds of the Federation book, which was a kind of late 80s, early 90s book. They're actually kind of almost like a pennant kind of shape. They don't have the legs that Enterprise gave them, and the kind of pincers and that kind of piece. But I actually preferred the mystery of the look of the TOS Tholians, and saying voiced by Barbara Babcock, who was Mia 3 in Taste of Armageddon as
I was going to ask if it was Barbara Babcock. Yeah,
who did the voice. And they just, you know what? They look cool. The ship is cool. The web is cool.
this is
cool.
To be fair, the Enterprise, what they did with the Tholians was also, I mean, they did a really good job of kind of like being true to what it was. Because you almost think like, I mean, I remember there was for 20, 30 years you lived with, what the hell is that thing? Is it a helmet? Is it a crystal creature? Is it a helmet that we can't see through the heat in there? You just never knew. And then when Enterprise kind of took it into this kind of crystal crab, like, it was just perfect. And it added so much to how cool the Tholians are. Like, God damn, the Tholians rule. This is a fantastic thing. I did not think of them. I did not think of them.
They were the easiest one for me from the beginning. This was going to be in there from day one. They were always going to be my top pick.
So cool.
I'm a sucker for the Tholians.
What's your take
on the fact they're going to be in Strange New Worlds?
Oh, that's right. It's another one that they've kind of teased. We'll see how that looks. Okay, Brooke, what's your take on the Tholians?
I will readily admit that I didn't think of them either. So it's a really great number one. And have either of you read the Year 5 graphic novels? because they're a huge part of that. And seeing them on like
that's cool.
2D is really, really lovely. So if you haven't seen those, pick those up.
I have not read those yet. They are on my long list for sure. Okay, this is spectacular. I'm excited not only about my first round pick and all these other picks, but I can't wait to get to our regeneration cycle and talk about some of these statistics, because they are amazing right now. And my pick is an absolute huge deep cut, but it jumped into my head and ended up at number 1 because it really is, for me, my all-time coolest alien. I just think they did an amazing job with it. 5 words and a hashtag. Computer, remove Big Blue Geordie. Hashtag ultraviolet creepiness on Tarkanan 3. And it is the Tarkanan 3 indigenous aliens, these incredible blue, ultraviolet, lit up, glowing, invisible aliens. They're just the most cool looking design. The whole episode's got this amazing kind of weird vibe. It's a really underrated episode. It's Identity Crisis from TNG, where the crew, or some of the members of the crew, including Geordie and some of his former crew, are turning into these weird aliens and being summoned back to this planet, Tarkanan 3, where they're going to go live as these animals who are just living on instinct. And you can't really see them unless you hold up the ultraviolet light. And the design on these aliens is so good. It just looks so good on film, the way it pops with the coloring and the vein, the blue lighting, and how creepy it is. And it's a little bit of a horror feel, but it's also got a little bit of a kind of a film noir feel of these scenes on the planet. And it's just top level stuff from Michael Westmore. One of my favorite cool looking aliens. I love them. So Brooke, what's your take on these Identity Crisis blue aliens?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm Googling, and they're fucking cool. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
absolutely. Not anything that I remembered, to be honest, which is a very pleasant surprise.
A great episode to revisit if you haven't seen it in a while.
It wouldn't be TrekRanks if I didn't leave with one bit of homework for the rest of the night.
I love it. How about you, Clive? What's your take?
These did make my secondary.
Oh, cool.
These I remember from the 25th anniversary special that they did, that Shatner and Nimoy hosted. There was a section in there talking about the guys who were in the suits and the movements and how they kind of, what the mentality was of how they made them look and move and how difficult it was to work because of the contact lenses. I remember that the little segment in there about that. It is a brilliant pick. The holodeck sequence is one of those standout moments from season 4 of TNG, when he's removing the people and leaves the shadow of the creature, and that's just genius Trek. But yeah, I know I absolutely love this one. They are a brilliant pick. It's a great episode. It's just.
And like Manhunt in the Antedians, a little bit of stunt casting. If you grew up in Southern California, there's these famous DJs called Kevin and Bean, and they were 2 of those aliens running around. So I remember that in the 90s being like, what? Kevin and Bean are 2 of those guys? Anyway, fantastic. Wow, what a topic. This is so much fun. Let's hear some secondary. No duplicates. And the stats are unbelievable. I can't wait to get to them. Let's get some secondary systems first.
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
Brooke, what do you got on your list?
So it didn't fit my prime directive, but I admit I was very impressed with the Rongovians.
Oh my God.
New Worlds.
Oh my God.
So cool. Like down to the detail, down to like their fingernails, right? Like the stripes and they were brilliant. But they didn't fit my prime directive because they've only
appeared in once.
Yeah. The Telosians would have fit my prime directive, and I think they would have been a good addition.
Oh my God, I did not think of the Telosians.
Yeah, and
I love the Telosians. That's such a great pick.
I do too, and they got a real, I don't want to say an upgrade, but they got some zhuzh in Discovery. You know, they were pretty spectacular. And I guess this is going to be another very wide sweep, but I flipping love every sinister looking alien that walks into Quarks. Like every alien that we don't know what they are, and we probably never hear them speak, and we probably never hear what their species is. But there was Michael Westmore just killed it when in creating like sort of sleazy looking, seedy looking, guys that are just ambling in the background, but they you knew they belonged at Quarks. So it's a bit nebulous, but basically I just picked everyone that drinks at Quarks.
Before you said that Michael Westmore, I was just about to say, and not that he would ever hear this, because he's not. If Michael Westmore heard this whole conversation, that would be this moment I think that made him the most happy to hear you pick just all these aliens in the background at Deep Space Nine, because that's the guys that was his bread and butter doing that. I mean, that's a lot of work, and they put so much effort into that.
If he comes to an STLV again, I'll be sure to stop by his table and tell him.
I love that man. I love that man a lot. Clive. In fact, I think he was on. Yeah, he was in my my Mount Rushmore when we did that. Clive, what's on your secondary systems?
I had the Horta, I had the Telosians, and the reason I had the Telosians was because of the use of the air bladders to create the veining effect in the heads.
I love that pick. I thought it
1964. Wow,
1964. That's why I don't disagree with you, Brooke, that they got a kind of a upgrade in emphasis. But man, those Telosians in 1964, played by kind of diminutive, some women, some men, they blow my mind how good they look from a sci-fi standpoint. I would have picked them if I thought of them. I'm glad I didn't, so we can talk about them now. And I had 5 other picks. Clive, keep going.
Certainly. I picked there were a couple in here, but I actually put Q in.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And it's weird because that's one that's not prosthetics, it's purely down to,
but he's cool looking.
Exactly. The way that particularly the judge dress, and I think what they did with him in Picard season 2. However, it may be seen as being faulted and whatever. I loved season 2. It restored my faith recently in Trek, actually. Delancier, just the look, the cool, the goatee, the just magnificent. Loved it. Classic Q. All good things, Judge Q, brilliant. I also picked on the list Tosk.
Oh, that's a good
one.
That's a good
call.
Cool looking, cool.
And what else do you need to say about Tosk? What a great little one-off creation. Interesting, we never saw them again coming from the Gamma Quadrant. But hey,
very cool.
The Breen.
Yeah, so there's the cool joke. I was going to throw that out there too, because they're cool. They're very cool inside those suits.
And I had 2 more which made it in here. One was the Vidians.
That's
the whole concept of them is cool.
Yeah.
And then finally, probably my weirdest cut that I had, and I really struggled to kind of fit this one in, was Proto Klingon Worf from Genesis.
It's funny. I thought of Genesis. In some of those options. Like I thought Barclay Spider, but that's good.
Proto Worf.
Yeah, Proto Worf.
In fact, the Barclay Spider is still the only moment in Star Trek I've ever physically jumped off my sofa.
No, that's not. The less we talk about that, the better.
But there you go.
Okay, I'm going to rattle off a few more that haven't come up, which is amazing. My toughest cuts, Jem'Hadar, but also Cardassians are just cool looking.
Yes,
I haven't mentioned them yet. And I love species A472. I think they did an amazing job. It's 25-year-old CGI now for a character, for a species, and that's kind of rough, but I think they still look pretty good. I dig species A472. I gotta give a little highlight to, of course, the M113 creature, the salt vampire from the Man Trap. Of course, I love that design. The Vaudoir. I like the hierarchy aliens from Voyager, the Overlookers. I really think they look cool design. The night aliens are on my list. This one would have fit your Prime Directive because they showed up again in Embarrassment of Duplers. It's the Mazarians, the aliens from Allegiance, the TNG episode, the pacifists that let people kind of overrun them. I really love the makeup on those guys. And I'm going to give a shout out to the Alshane, the butterfly people from the opener of season 4 of Discovery.
You claim to understand our culture, yet you bring a carnivore to our world.
Domestic. I said domestic.
She's my pet. She lives on my ship. I feed her, love her, give her cat treats.
Is she grateful?
No. No, in no way.
It's bad attitude.
Yet you expect us to be.
No. Oh, no.
Have you come to make pets of us?
We haven't come to make you anything.
Let me explain. She's
a queen.
You hold a monarch captive?
Oh, no.
I really thought they were cool. I love that cold open at the start of season 4. And I'm going to give my special shout out. You already heard me react because, Brooke, I can't believe you picked the Rongovians. I love these Rongovians.
Aren't they the best?
From Spock Amok in Strange New Worlds. How have we not seen anything that really looks like them before? Their makeup is incredible with like the zebra lines on their face and just the whole concept of the Rongovian protectorate, and they're in sail ships and they have this radical empathy. I just love
empathy. I love
everything about the Rongovians. I want to see more of them, but that is an cool alien design that I think is going to stand the test of time in Trek, and it's only a few weeks old. So, wow, we have covered an amazing amount of cool aliens in Trek. Let's get into our regeneration cycle and recap our picks and run through some stats.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Brooke, run down your top 5 cool-looking aliens.
All right. Number 5, the Pandronians. Number 4, the Antedians. Number 3, the Vendorians. Number 2, the Anar. And number 1, mother effing Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, fantastic. I'm not even going to recap what you guys did because I'm going to recap that in a second. So, Clive, how about you? What's your rattle off your 5?
Certainly, yeah. 5 was Murph from Prodigy. 4 was Ensign Sill from Beyond. 3 was the 10C from Discovery. Number 2 was the Jem'Hadar from Deep Space Nine. And in top spots, the Tholians from TOS.
That is a list.
You had 3 amazing deep cuts or like new and vibrant from the last 5 years, and then 2 just classics with Jem'Hadar and the Tholians. I love it. Okay, number 5 was the Uridians from TNG was my pick. I had the Kelpians, my round 4. The Horta was my round 3. Number 2 was the Andorians from the Enterprise era with the remote control antennae. And my number 1 was the ultraviolet indigenous aliens, creatures from Identity Crisis and TNG. So let's recap. These stats are literally unbelievable. So we had no duplicates, which is always cool. And it's cool sometimes when we have duplicates too. But I broke this down. We had 2 stunt casting picks, so that's fun. I broke this down between 5 different ways to kind of break down the aliens, and it was almost dead even between all of them. So like humanoid face, there was 3. Like a full creature design was 3. Animated characters was 3 picks. And CGI, like straight CGI, was 2 picks. Although I kind of put the Tholians in CGI because I'm not sure how else to, because it really kind of was, because they just kind of.
It was a puppet, wasn't it? The original series one.
But it was also so colored over that it's kind of CGI. I mean, it's not computer wrapped, but they did something to kind of alter it. So I'm counting that as CGI. And then for a full prosthetic kind of humanoid look was 4. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, amazing breakdown. Like everything was like, 2 or 3 or 4 of 5 different categories across 15 picks. So really cool. And then this has never happened in TrekRanks history. So there are basically 12 different Star Trek series if you count short treks, which I do because they did 10 episodes in 2 seasons, and then 13 incarnations if you also count the Kelvin timeline. So 3 additional movies. That's if you include all the movies with TOS and TNG otherwise. So 13 different incarnations of Trek. And this is the first time we had 11 picked in this episode. Wow. It's amazing. So Picard and short treks had 0. TNG led the way with only 3. TOS and Discovery each had 2. And then 8 different series had 1 pick. So it'd be Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, the animated series, Lower Decks, Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, and the Kelvin Timeline. That is truly unbelievable. And that's, of course, associating an episode to it, which is why we do it. So, Brooke, I made you 1 for TAS, 1 for Lower Decks in your Pandronians, Andorian picks, which I think is a fair breakdown. So incredible. And I counted Penk, your Jeffrey Combs as Penk for Voyager. So
yeah.
Took a little liberty there, but that's amazing.
I took a lot of liberty too.
I love it. Fantastic. All right. As we do every week, we've been hit by temporal distortions. And before we get apart, it's time to hear from you.
The temporal distortions are fracturing space-time throughout the ship. Cause?
Unknown.
Oh, we know the cost, Mr. Tuvok, to all the amazing feedback that we continue to receive from our listeners here at TrekRanks. And this week's temporal distortion has sent us back to episode 131. Oh, yeah, I already mentioned this. Our top 5 one-off guest stars. One of our literally most popular episodes ever. We got a ton of feedback, got like 3 voicemails in. So going to play one of those now from our longtime listener, Jim McMahon at TrekFan_165. Really quick list, takes about a minute to go through it. And I love his picks.
Hey, TrekRanks, this is Jim McMahon calling. I am Jim at TrekRanks165, and I'm calling with my top 5 Star Trek one-off guest characters. Number 5 is Glenn Carew, who is the alien who pretended to be Janeway's deceased father. My 5 words: non-corporeal vulture or spider. Hashtag tried and failed to make Janeway think she died. Number 4, from the Enterprise pilot, actor Jim Beaver, who played Admiral Dan Leonard. 5 words, named for a TOS legend. Hashtag it's a Kleot. Number 3, and I apologize for this one, Jim. It's Ronnie Cox, Captain Jellicoe. The 5 words, the Enterprise is mine now. Hashtag is he is the captain we love to hate. Number 2 is actor Steven Weber, who played Colonel Day on Deep Space Nine. 5 words, he believes in the circle. Hashtag justice for Lee Nowlis. And my number 1, Terry Hatcher, who played Lieutenant B.G. Robinson in The Outrageous Okana. 5 words, Lois Lane works the transporters. Hashtag, who needs Wisteria Lane when you have Captain Okana? Thanks, TrekRanks. Bye.
All right, love those picks. No one mentioned Janeway's deceased father, Len Carew from Coda before. That was awesome. He picked Ronnie Cox, so we'll have to have words about that. Although I love Ronnie Cox, I just don't like Jellicoe. But his number 1, Terry Hatcher from The Outrageous Coda. Gotta love that. Okay, fantastic picks. More than enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal distortion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the TrekRanks podcast. Keep your list coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 coolest looking aliens or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call to Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. Or you can just record it, send me a DM. We can do it that way. Hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we are returning to my favorite TrekRanks series, our Scenes in Trek. And we have a great one. It's our top 5 scenes in engineering. We haven't done that one yet. It's a huge canvas. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Brooke and Clive, if you had to choose one of your favorite scenes in engineering off the top of your head, what would it be? Brooke, you're on the spot.
Don't joke, I am. I will say one of my favorite scenes in engineering is probably any of the scenes in engineering we got from the Kelvin Timeline movies. I really enjoyed the vastness of the engineering area. It gave me a sense of how big a starship was that I had never really gotten any of the other incarnations of the Enterprise.
I love that take because you usually hear the opposite. People who don't like either the Budweiser set from the first film or Into Darkness, and I think Beyond. No, it wasn't. Oh yeah, Beyond. They actually had a set, but in Into Darkness they used that some kind of NASA lab in the Bay Area, maybe not NASA. Anyway, it's really, really cool. I love that. That's a fantastic take. Brooke, Clive, what is your engineering scene that you would highlight?
It came to me in literally a second. It's one of the greatest fight scenes that Shatner ever performed. Yeah. You know exactly where I'm going with this one.
I've already picked it, I think, for my fight scenes.
Shall we just leave it there and I won't mention what it is?
I'm assuming it's Khan and
it has
Shatner and Space Seed. Yeah,
the use of set in that is just
so good.
Yeah,
hanging from the grate in front of.
What can you say?
So good. I'm not picking that again because I picked it for my fight scenes in our most recent Scenes in Trek series. So that's hilarious that you picked that. All right, fantastic. I am looking forward to that one. But now, a huge thanks to Brooke, Horton, and Clive Burrell. It was great to have you guys on. What an awesome topic.
I was wondering if you could show me how to access these subspace communications logs.
We're going to do that right now, Neelix. So any final Trek subspace communications either one of you want to relay before we depart? Brooke?
Not just keep loving the Star Trek you love and keep loving the people you love and happy Pride. And I look forward to seeing everybody that listens at some point at a convention. And until then, be well.
Perfect. Salutation, Clive. Great to finally have you on.
Yeah, I can. This is definitely ticked off my bucket list. I've waited so long to get on this, and it's been amazing. It's been great, Brooke. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to speak to you.
Likewise,
Jim, it's been brilliant. You know what, guys? Trek is just one of those fandoms that keeps giving. There is something in there for everybody. There is a series for everybody. There is an episode for everybody.
Well said.
You know what? Just enjoy it. Don't get too deep into it, and just there's a lot of stuff that goes on social media.
And everyone check out Clive's blog at Some Kind of Star Trek. It's pretty cool. Just a lot of personal stuff there. I like it. All right. Fantastic. Thank you again, everyone, for engaging with us here on episode 137 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
You should have cut off my head.
I considered it, but I still need your help.
What good is a guardsman without two antennae?
You'll begin to compensate within a day or two.
They take 9 months to grow back.
If left untreated. With electrical stimulation and brisk cranial massage, you'll be back to normal in half that time.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire TrekRanks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
Want to tell me about Tellarites too?
Maybe shut up and keep an eye out for the shuttle. How about that?
Ah! No, you're hurting me, please. My bones.
They're killing him.
Boiler!
Please, no. I can explain.
Explain it to my boot. Starfleet, I order you to step away from the Elder.
You idiot! That's no Elder, it's...
Now I'm a little boy.
Oh, shapeshifter? Ah, boo.
That Andorian is a thief, and you let him get away!
They must be working together.